I just want to be clear. I don't have an issue with socdems at all. The issue is when they get uppity, okay? It's when they forget who they are. When they forget that they're dogs. Vaush, I think you misunderstood on what social democracy. No, I understand everything perfectly. If social democracies have mandatory cooperatives, would that still be a social democracy? If every single business was either nationalized or cooperatively owned, there would be no bourgeois, in which case that would be a market socialist society. You've achieved one of the two criteria for socialism. I think there was a knowledge gap in the debate because you didn't know what comparative advantage is. Yeah, I do. I've demonstrated my understanding of that term before. Comparative advantage is the idea that certain societies or countries or whatever do different things better. So you extract benefits from delegating the responsibilities to the institutions that are best capable of handling it. So maybe America's not the best for... I mean, I support this. America shouldn't be doing manufacturing. Why would we, with our highly educated population, want people working in factories? We should be focusing on service jobs, high-tech jobs, in like stuff like that, you know? It makes sense that you would delegate those responsibilities to countries that have a lower average education. You know? Are you aware Twitter socdems thought that Econboi guy was an idiot? I don't think he was an idiot. I just don't know if he was a sock. He just felt kind of like a neoliberal to me. I did see though on Twitter that the Rose guy, the really fucking mauling that guy, the Rose para-socialist, whatever the fuck that person was. What was that? The para, yeah, that person was mauling hardcore on Twitter. Can you explain the difference between a socdem and a liberal? So when we talk about neoliberals in terms of the economy, neoliberals are like big pro, like World Bank and IMF, you know? Pro-austerity, pro-deregulation, privatize everything, you know, let the free market handle it. Let these countries be our, you know, our bitch babies for resource extraction. But socdems tend to be, you know, like we should redirect these, we need heavy regulation, we should redirect these profits towards like the welfare state. There's not like a hard line between these two things. It's a little bit blurry. Well, Kevby, yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't explain the concept in its, you know, in its entirety, but I think I've demonstrated that I understand. I'm not saying that every country needs to be some kind of gate-kept... Why are neoliberals still a thing? Well, they control the global economic order. The global economic system is one which is more or less in line with neoliberal economic like philosophy. So they're still a thing because they control the world. Doesn't delegating manufacturing create an educational disparity and create a hierarchy? I'm not making prescriptive statements, only descriptive. In a good world, these things would be delegated evenly because every country has more or less equal levels of educational attainment. You know? But as long as there are differences between what countries do well, like, you should respond to that, right? I mean, for instance, do you think that, like, Bangladesh should be doing the high-tech jobs and America should be doing the textile work? I mean, you can say yes if you want to be all, you know, socialist about it, but in reality, all that would be fairly dumb. That would be a fairly silly and unproductive way of managing the global economy. The IMF sucks, but is there no scenario in which the IMF can help? No, of course not. The IMF is technically capable of doing good things and has done good things in the past. Just keep in mind that everything they do is to an ulterior motive. It's not about helping those countries, it's about helping the economic order in a way that's beneficial to Western business interests. Sometimes that will help the countries they visit, and sometimes it will not. So their interests aren't about improving these countries. It's just about applying sets of policies, prescribing policies that make these places better for, you know, our business. Would you say any foreign policy is purely humanitarian? Sometimes. Most Western countries do have portions of their GDP or of their government spending set out to foreign aid. And sometimes it does seem to be humanitarian in nature. Like, you're not really getting that much for it. You're not getting like any big political favors. But usually I think examples like that are fairly marginal. I think when you're talking about larger global foreign policy stuff, it usually tends to be like realpolitik, you know? It usually tends to be part of a desire to prioritize one country's interests or, you know, do this, that, or the other. I made the mistake of looking at YouTube chat. You need to be more humble on issues you don't know too much about, IMO. This research stream is a good thing. I think that I did fine in that debate. I made 2 mistakes to my knowledge. The first is, I don't know why I remember that 9/11 caused a dip in the GDP. I remember that so strongly, like, not just as an offhand thing, but something that I'd actually looked at before and researched. But apparently it dropped by like maybe 0.5%, so I was just wrong on that one. And also, well, we're about to read more about this, but it seems like, though my concerns were warranted, one of the ways in which I felt those concerns might be warranted, which is the idea that the percentage of our GDP that comes from not foreign comparative, foreign like trade imbalances, unequal exchange, might be a product of the artificial undervaluing of their goods because, you know, they're poorer countries. But it doesn't look like the data pans out in that favor. Apart from those 2 things, I feel like pretty much everything I brought up was solid. I mean, he was bringing up shit like, hey, these companies have pledged to do good things in the future. So, hey, maybe corporations will be willing to, like, end unequal exchange across the global north and south. It's like, okay. All right. I guess we'll see. I think after you'd read more, you could have had a really productive discussion with Mouthy about this. You'll probably reach a consensus. No, I doubt. I don't think so. That seems unlikely to me. Also, why are we deferring to other people's, like, expectations for what is or is not economically correct? Shouldn't we learn the truth ourselves and pull from, like, PhDs and researchers and stuff? Vaush, my dad is a socdem. Should I do the Vaushite thing and disown him? I don't, guys, I just want to be clear. I don't have an issue with socdems at all. The issue is when they get uppity, okay? It's when they forget who they are. When they forget that they're dogs compared to us, okay? Nothing frustrates me more when they're like, yeah, dude, we're so, like, it's just the impression that I get sometimes from socdems, you know, that they're like, how socdem are they? Are they really committed to those changes, or are they just like slightly more socially conscientious liberals? I have a feeling from a lot of these socdems that, like, if Bernie had won and started implementing like half of his proposed policies, they would have been like hand-wringing right alongside Biden or whatever, you know? I just have a feeling that like a lot of them, like the socdem thing is just because it's like cool to be a little bit better than the median liberal. But it's not just that they don't challenge capitalism, it's that they don't even challenge it like that much, you know, where it is, I think. Plus, they always like telling socialists what to do and how to do socialism for some reason. Oh my god, true. I swear to God, dude. They're always like, you know, we should really do X or Y so we can, you know, achieve. So I'm like, oh, are you a socialist? They're like, no, I'm a socdem. Then who the fuck asked you? Who you're what? This is how all those fucking European left parties began socialist and ended up being slightly nicer neoliberal. Okay, this is how this happened, like, over and over and over and over again. They're like, yeah, dude, working class, man. Working class movement, man. Yeah. And then they wrap your arms around you. You're like, okay, well, you know, they're pragmatic, but their pragmatism is a lie. They don't do the socdem thing because it's a pragmatic step to socialism. They do it because that's all they can think of. They do that because that's the end goal for them. Working class, dude. Sorry, we're having our Joker moment. The SPD unironically does this a lot with D-Lincoln for the left parties. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's, I don't know.